PBR here with Blue Collar Reformation. Today we continue to talk about the Nicene Creed. As we have been studying the Nicene Creed, we've looked at some of the controversies, some of the answers to those controversies, and today we're going to look at a current one that is happening just this week. It just came to our attention, and so it has prompted this study on the Nicene Creed, and it's as good a time as any because it is a blessed thing to study because it has to do with God and the gospel. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we got all the pastors together and, throughout all the world, put them in a place where they had to study and basically come to a clear and precise, maybe 150-word definition of the Trinity and the gospel that all of Christianity throughout all the ages could agree upon? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, that's what we have in the Nicene Creed. Now, there are specific things we'd like to make sure that people understand with interpreting the forgiveness of sins, that the forgiveness of sins is given to us by way of the justification imputed to our account by receiving the righteousness of Christ by faith apart from works. But then that's not quite spelled out because it wasn't in controversy yet at the time of the writing of the Nicene Creed. But it still is a definition and a summary. So wouldn't it be nice if we did that? In fact, one time I was at a public debate, watching the debate, and somebody was arguing in favor of creeds and confessions. Somebody was arguing against creeds and confessions. And basically what happened at the end is the guy who was arguing that we shouldn't have creeds and confessions said, well, maybe we just need to get everybody together and then write down a document that would give us a definition of these things. And then the whole crowd shouted, that would be a creed. And it shows that basically we just need creeds. And these things are really stable in the Bible, and we need to just confess them and believe it, understand it more fully, find out what the context of their exegesis is, and live by it, and conceive of God this way. Now, that was Nicaea. They accomplished that at Nicaea. And an opportunity came up for the SBC this week, the Southern Baptist Convention, to affirm the Nicene Creed, and it was rejected. Now, what's interesting about this is it's probably that the conservatives in the SBC smelled out that there are some within their ranks who will not affirm the Nicene Creed and put it forward as something that they would have to deal with at their assembly. And what ends up happening is that basically the executive committee of the Southern Baptist Convention 3 times brought this up and rejected to bring it to the floor for a vote. Now, what's important about understanding that is basically a lot of stuff dies before it gets to the assembly of the Southern Baptist Convention. Not so much in Reformed denominations. We kind of have to deal with things as they come forward. But the Southern Baptists, that's the way it happened there. And now it's not quite a departure from the Nicene Creed, not a total denial, but there are many who are saying some very frightening things, and it shows us how important it is that we would confess the creeds. The dean of the School of Theology at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, Dr. David Allen, not to be confused with multiple country singers of the same first and middle name, he argued that we are skittish about too much ecumenism. And I think that I see it. The creed, while generally is a very good creed, and it's accepted by many traditions, there are still a couple of issues of wording in that, this is an exact quote, in that creed that could be interpreted to foment or to produce doctrines or concepts of doctrines we as Baptists would reject. So basically, he's arguing that there are parts of the Nicene Creed that Baptists would reject. And so basically, he claims to be speaking for all Baptists. And obviously, the Baptists who put forward the motion that was now rejected by the executive committee believe that they could very much affirm the Nicene Creed. So it's not saying that all Baptists are outside of Christianity. But the frightful thing is, those who are saying they reject things about the Nicene Creed, I would like to know what those are, because it could be damnable heresy that individuals are holding to, and we would pray that they would come back to the faith. William Lane Craig on Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called now, says that he sees no evidence for the two wills of Christ. In response to this, he actually said this. This is his quote from A Reasonable Faith, his Twitter handle, A Reasonable Faith, says, as a Protestant who believes that the Scripture alone is our ultimate and final authority, I think even the statements of ecumenical councils must be brought before the Scripture. True. Kevin Giles said the same thing in the last video I was talking about. And I see nothing in Scripture that warrants saying that Christ has two wills. Podcast below. The only thing I have to say in response to this is the quote from William Madison III. At no point in your rambling and incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone on Twitter is now dumber for having heard it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. This is PBR signing off.